All right, hello, and hello to our viewers on Facebook Live. So thank you for coming today to the Renovation Tour and the Ask an Expert session. So my name is Mike. I'm a senior designer here at Cabinet Desktop, and I will be glad to answer some questions.
I'm Katie. I'm one of the designers here.
And I'm Michelle. I'm also one of the senior designers here at Cabinet Desktop. Welcome.
So we want to open the floor up to you guys if you have any questions specific to renovation, whether it's kitchen, bath renovation, whole house renovation. We've done all kinds of stuff, so we should have answers to just about any question. And we'll also take questions from our viewers at home watching on Facebook Live as well.
Well, we have a question that has come in. It says, I know I need to remodel, but I'm not sure how to start. What are some things I should do first before beginning my search?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. So there are a few things in the remodel aspect there. And the one thing you can do is gather specifications of your items. So in other words, if it's a kitchen remodel, you should have an idea of what type of appliances that you're wanting to use, because that's very important in terms of the design process. Whether you like ovens that are built into the wall, or freestanding range, or cooktop, whether you want a hood, where do you want to position those things. I mean, we're going to help design it, but we can't read your mind as far as like what type of products that you might want. So that research is very important. Did that answer that whole question? Okay.
I think also when you're taking upon a new project, a new remodel project, is take stock of what you already have in your space. Does it work for you? Does it function the way you want it to function? Maybe you're coming into it with you didn't have children before, and now you have children and they want to be in the kitchen and they want to have a place to do homework, or you have two cooks now. So there's a lot of things that go along with a remodel project that you need to kind of look at how you use the space, how you live in your home, and especially for kitchens now being the center of your gathering spaces, they've kind of evolved, and maybe your kitchen hasn't evolved along with the time. So those are another good thing to keep in mind too, is make sure that your kitchen really works the way you need it to work.
Yes, go ahead.
So there are so many different varieties of countertops these days. There just used to be formica and granite, and now there's quartz and there's cultured marble and all of that. How do you know what kind of countertop to consider in a kitchen? You're using hot plates, and you might be making pasta with spaghetti sauce and sort of steaming and all of that.
Repeat the question.
The question came in was just how do you know what kind of countertops to choose from? There's a lot of different options out there anymore. So I like to look at it as terms of maintenance. If you want a low maintenance product, we might steer you towards one thing or the other. And then the other one is visual. If you want a lot of variation to it, something like a granite, potentially a quartz, they have different styles that have variation or not. So that would be a good place to start. Even some laminates, they have some really great designs now that they've come out with. But as far as if you want something low maintenance, laminate, quartz, you don't have to do anything with, where the granite you have to seal over time. So that's kind of where I would start. And then just kind of the overall color palette. And if you're looking for something specific, it's probably easier to get there with a quartz, because those don't have as much variation to it, where granite is beautiful because it's raw and it's natural and it flows. So it just depends on what kind of story you want to tell. If you want that visual appeal, or if you just want something that's just real simple and just understated and just low maintenance. And go.
Do you have any recommendations as far as like a resale value? What are potential buyers looking for countertops?
I think that depends on the area that you're in. So if you're in an area where, it's a lot of people have granite, I would just see what your kind of neighbors have and what your resale would work. Of course, granite and quartz are the buzzwords, for a resale. But if you're in a rural area where you're not sure what your home's going to take in, laminate could be a nice option too. And the laminates have come a long way with the edge treatments that you can choose from, and they've really evolved, and they look like granites now, and they look like a natural stone. So when you see a laminate, it's not just a laminate top anymore. You can do some really fun things with it. So I wouldn't necessarily limit yourself one way or another. I think it just comes down to your overall budget, and if you are looking to resell your house, your budget's going to really outweigh what direction you want to go. So
I have one more question about design and color. So if you're going with a particular color, let's say white on a countertop, how do you know it's a little from this as far as like a backsplash, and then what do you put on the floor? Do you do your parallel planes in the same color tone where your countertops are the focal point, or is it just the opposite?
I don't think there's a one definitive answer to that. So what I like to do is take into consideration everything that's going into the kitchen, so everything kind of plays nice together. So whether your flooring is going to be, a focal point, you start from there. If you want your backsplash to kind of stand out, then maybe that is your focal point. But everything, all the surfaces, I think the horizontal surfaces need to work together, and vertical surfaces need to work together. So you can have contrast with a white countertop and a colorful backsplash. That works, or you could have something that's more monochromatic, where that kind of takes the focal point away from that area, but everything kind of just melds together, and you're looking at a big picture. You're not just focusing on one aspect.
Are there options out there to not have grout in the shower? Because grout can discolor and things, so.
So the question was, are there options to not have grout in the shower? And there are other types of surfaces that can be used. We actually have an acrylic surface that's called Tiberian, and what it is I don't know if you're familiar with cultured marble, but it's a poured resin product where the sink and bowl and everything's together as one that you use on a countertop, and that can be done as a vertical surface. Well, they take that product and they overlay an acrylic overlay, so you could have it look just like marble. And that could go on the walls, and then they also make a shower pan out of the same product. So therefore there'd be no grout involved. You would still have some type of caulking where the seams are so that there is no water penetration, but that can give you a look that would look more like stone, but yet not have the maintenance that you would with grouts. I will say this, there is a fear of grouts, and that's partially because what we knew about the cementitious grouts. They were porous, and so you had to seal them, and that, if you chose a white color, it's going to look dingy gray over time. Well, there are grouts now, because of all of our polymer modifications, that are basically will not stain. So you spend a little bit more on the grout, but you can be assured that you don't have to worry about that grout staining from that aspect. You don't have to seal it, so there's no maintenance. So
That's good.
We welcome our friends that came in. We're just doing a question and answers. Ask the experts here if you have questions specific to remodeling or design in that element. So feel free to ask away.
Doing concrete countertops at all?
Concrete countertops. Well, the question was about if we do concrete countertops, and we do not really have it. We have access to them through a few vendors. We had a person that had done some concrete countertops, but they're no longer doing them. The companies we've worked with the product, the thing is that our environment, our climate here, because of humidity changes from the summer to winter time, concrete, just like concrete in your driveway, it can crack. And so there's no place that will warranty that you're not going to get micro cracks in it. So sometimes that's a fear to people if they start seeing that in a contractor sign that says this product could crack, and there really isn't anything we can do about that. I say that if you do have a concrete top done, it's better to do it where it's not locked in. So an island top or something where it can do the expansion and contraction, that it would work well. And it can be a nice look. And you can personalize it by putting aggregate stone shells and stuff in it and make it look really unique. So yes, we have access to through a supplier. It's just not something that we commonly do.
But the industry has also recognized that look, that concrete look. So there's some great alternatives in quartz where you can get that look. You have no maintenance and get the best of both worlds.
Yep.
I've talked about this with her. So I tend to like the off-white colors, a warmer look, but the bathtub I want to get is white. What do I have to watch out for? Is that possible? And it's a freestanding tile.
I'll take this question. The white, I feel like the white fixtures work just fine with warm colors. I look at them more of kind of like how your appliances are stainless steel. Your bathroom fixtures can be white because they're a standalone unit. Where I think if you're pairing things together, I'm not sure if you're limited to yourself to doing an off-white tub or an off-white bowl with your sink or anything like that. So most people are doing white. Not many people are doing the ivory or the biscuit. So I wouldn't limit yourself. I wouldn't think that would limit it. So that's just kind of how I personally take that. On that.
I'm sorry, Katie. Go ahead. There are so many different shades of white. So white, you can pair different whites together and they're going to look fine. So you may have the crisp white tub and toilet and sink, and then you have a little bit softer whites introduced into the room too. You'd be fine.
We have another one from just a comment asked question to us is, can I live in my home during the remodel? Will the bathroom and kitchen be out of commission during the entire remodel project?
Oh, that's a good question. So the question was, in case you didn't hear, can you live in the house while we're remodeling your project? Will the bathroom or kitchen be out of commission during that whole time? And so that's a tough one. I think it depends a little bit on the extent of the project. Yes, you can live in your home. We don't evict anybody from their house when we're doing their project. However, there are certain times where I've had clients that have had a floor refinished, and that would limit to where you can go in the house. So there are times where maybe it does work for a night to actually go so that that floor can cure up and you're not smelling all the odors and stuff that go along with it. So from a health standpoint, yes, on that sense. Generally, our kitchen and bath renovations, the clients live at the house. We try to keep them as comfortable as possible. It's not always that we can keep the kitchen sink there because that's usually torn out, but generally there's a laundry sink close by, so we usually say you have the laundry sink, and then if it's a plug-in type stove, like an electric stove, our guys will plug it back in every night before they leave, so that's usable. The microwave, if it's like an over-the-range microwave, sometimes we set that on a tabletop. It's still usable, just doesn't work as the vent. So yes, you should still be able to fairly function, that way. In a shower or bathroom situation, we're hoping that if we're doing your renovation that you have another bath, but there has been projects where we've done, and that's been the only bathroom. So the shower gets torn out. It's usually a few days to probably almost a week that your shower will be out of commission. So if you got a friend nearby or a neighbor, that's where you may want to shower on that part of it. So yeah, that's right.
Rec center.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, the next one in is, I've gotten a few estimates and the prices vary. Why are the quotes so different?
Well, I would say if they're drastically different, you're not getting the same thing quoted. It's hard to compare, apples to apples. Cabinet lines vary a little bit from place to place. So I think if a quote, like I said, is really different from what you're getting at other places, then something's askew. But
I think it has a little bit to do with what type of place you're going into. So a store like ours, which we have a full showroom, we have subcontractors that do our labor, but we project manage. So in other words, everything's priced through Cabinet Desktop. So we project manage the entire project. We sell all the products and we design. So if you're in a place like our store, which is a full-on design showroom and that does the renovation work, those prices should be similar. There really shouldn't be a drastic difference. If there is, then like Michelle said, something could be missing or not, in there. So you want to obviously ask all those questions. Of course, there's always the option as a homeowner to try to manage it themselves. So they're going to be the general in a sense, and they're going to hire a subcontractor that doesn't necessarily have a showroom, but then they're going to go places, different stores to pick out their products. And so yes, I think probably in that case, you may be less. Although we have to always think, and I tell people, think of your time. Your time is money. So if you're taking that amount of time to go do all that, and that's taking you away from your job or work and that element of it, then you do have to take that in consideration.
How do you handle an unforeseen circumstance, like a pipe or a wire behind a wall that needs to be moved?
All right. The question was, how do you address something that's unforeseen ideas, or sorry, getting tongue-tied. Forget about the camera. So basically, we just take it the best we can. We work with our installers and trying to figure out the best way to resolve that situation, and we would just create a change order with what that would what that would all entail, and I don't know. It's just
we try to do enough homework ahead of time to kind of hopefully not run into those kind of situations, but it does happen. It is renovation. We are a lot of times opening up walls, even removing cabinets. You could come across something that you did not foresee. Neither, we can't look through walls. We haven't perfected that technology yet. So if we do uncover something, for instance, I had a kitchen where we took out the cabinets, and the sink base cabinet behind was all molded, and neither the homeowner knew of that situation, and there's no way that we could have known it, but we do have to correct it. Okay, if we uncover something, we're going to have to bring it to the homeowner's attention, come up with a plan, like Katie said, to rectify it. And usually, unfortunately, it does. We do have to pay for the labor and the materials to do that. So.
Yeah, it's as simple. I mean, I remember a job that we had where, and we didn't do it, but the client had baseboard put up in the past, and the person that had put the baseboard up had shot a nail through a pipe. It was a pipe that fed the outside spigot, and honestly there was nothing wrong because the nail had pierced the pipe and it corroded around there, so it wasn't leaking. But obviously when the baseboard happens to pull off, that's where you have the issue. So that's one of those things that you might even know the pipe's there, but you didn't know that was the case on there. So I guess that's the whole goal of hiring a professional, someone that this is their occupation, for full remodeling, is that they're going to look at that and say, hey, we have a problem. How can we handle this? And, and make sure you're aware of that element of it, because that could really be a problem later on down the road.
Do you have computer programs that show the project completely done so that the consumer can see what it will look like?
Yeah, the question is, do we have computer renderings of what the project would look like after once we've designed it? When we do, we work with a program called 2020, and that is a 3D rendering program, so we're able to plug in the design, the cabinets. We can not always get the exact material in there, like your countertop and backsplash, but we can get something that kind of gives you that same illusion. And then there's different textures you can put on there, so we can definitely do that, like what you see on TV. Yes. It's not quite as fancy where it all shoots in, but we are able to do that. So, yep, absolutely.
And, no, go ahead.
As far as that, like doing the computer rendering, basically laying
So basically, the question was, how do we handle the computer rendering as far as a cost to a client? So at our store, our philosophy is to sell you the whole thing: the cabinets, flooring, countertops, the design, and labor services complete. But we do not necessarily charge for our design service. What we do is we have a measure fee in place. So to come out to your house, in order for us to work up an estimate, we have to come out and see your project, okay? So we come out to the house, we measure up the area, and we have a measure fee in place for that. I think it's $250 for a kitchen measure or a bathroom measure. That measure fee applies towards your purchase, so we're not out just to get measure fees, but that's how we work. Then when you come in the showroom, you're going to see a design on screen, but we do not give that design out. I mean, that design is there for visually look at, for your way to see this is what it's going to look like, and then we have a cost estimate done, and it's a generalized estimate, but it's, it should be pretty specific to what you're looking at on screen there. And at that point, we feel like we've given you enough information to make a decision if this is something you're going to pursue, whether it's further picking out colors, maybe more design that needs to happen, or just going out and final measuring. So we work on retainer, which means that basically we're going to take a dollar commitment from you to say that we're serious about doing this project and we want to go further. And that retainer is good for, I think, 6 months. And as long as you come back with us within that time frame and say you want to do the project, we apply that towards the project. So we're not necessarily, collecting design fees. We're just collecting monies that kind of have a commitment on your part to do that element of it. And there has been cases, though, where I have had clients wanting to purchase design, and so that's just a case-by-case basis that we would discuss with you.
All right, it looks like we have time for one more question.
Okay.
And it says, what are the current design trends for kitchens?
Okay, the question is, what are the current design trends for kitchens? Well, we take our cues from what the cabinet lines are bringing out. So we do see introduced our grays. White is still classic. Your white is always going to be around. We're always going to see new door styles come out, new colors introduced. But what I guess is current now, shaker door style, we're seeing a lot of that, just a simple shaker. Color-wise, if you're going with the painted, the grays, the whites are still very popular. Wood tones, more of the brown tones coming back into play. We're also seeing oak coming back in different colors. So yes, yeah. So not your, what we're all used to, that honey oak. Yes, no, we're seeing the darker, maybe more darker colors coming out in the oaks. But wood species are there's so many different wood species and colors. I think the trend towards countertops are more of the quartz product for the maintenance aspect. In flooring, we're seeing a lot of luxury vinyl tiles. I think that's a pretty current trend.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming and attending. Thank you, Facebook Live viewers, for attending this seminar as well. We will have our next seminar will be at 1:15, which will be talking about islands, the oasis of a kitchen. So hopefully we'll bring some warmth to our 30-degree weather outside.